So going from the Detroit Red Wings, we're going to jump right to the Florida Panthers. And so from like middle to first overall. So the Florida Panthers, they were first in the Atlantic with a 58-18-6 record, 122 points. First in the East and first in the league. Their head coach, Paul Maurice, replaces interim Andrew Brunette. So the Florida Panthers lost Nola Chari, Ben Chirot, Claude Giroux, Robert Hagg, Mason Marchment, Jonathan Huberdeau, Mackenzie Weegar, and Cole Schwint. Oof. They signed Colin White, Nick Cousins, Mark Stahl, Rudolphs Balsers, Matthew Tkachuk. Their notable UFA, just for me, really, is just Joe Thornton. The fact that he's still UFA, we might see a retired Joe Thornton coming up soon, or another pickup. I don't know.
There's been a couple signs that have been like kind of trickling in, but like, I don't know. It's getting down to the wire, man.
Right. So we'll see what happens. They have one trade here. The Panthers traded Jonathan Huberdeau, Mackenzie Weegar, Cole Schwint, and a conditional 2025 first-round pick to the Calgary Flames in exchange for Matthew Tkachuk and a conditional fourth-round pick in 2025, the big trade that happened this offseason. How are we looking here? I feel like they lost more than they've gained here, and big names lost and very little gain.
Yeah, I almost see, we talked about it back when the trade happened, the Huberdeau and Tkachuk trade. It's almost like the same skill level player, but in a different role. Mm-hmm. And I just think like the assets that you sold away to get this thing, I don't know. Maybe it's a play for the long run. I don't see the President's Trophy in their future this year.
Nope.
I don't see them winning the division in this year either,
Nope.
personally. I have them taking a little bit of a step back, but I still think that they have a talented roster that's going to be able to compete and, be a presence in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I kind of just want to show you what I have. I really, really dropped them.
Really? That much?
Yeah, I did. But it do be like that. So let's actually talk about their roster here before we really get into that. So I do want to bring up Anthony Duclair here. He's injured and out with surgery after he popped his Achilles tendon. He had career high 31 goals and 27 assists last season. He is expected to miss the first half of the season. So add another player, a big player that's just gonna miss out for a half of the season. So this is gonna be a total different Florida Panthers team that we compared to last season. So
I think it's going to be a very similar team, but with different faces.
Yeah.
That's what I think. And I don't think that they're going to be, the best team in the league like they were last year.
Right.
But they're still going to be one of the better teams in the league, is my opinion.
Yeah, they'll still be up there, but I don't think we're going to see the absolute powerhouse tank the Florida Panthers were last year. I think the fact that they lost, what are we looking at here? Marchment, Huberdeau, Weegar. Huberdeau, just to name one of the top guys there, too. Ben Chirot, great defenseman. They lost, huge defenseman, Huberdeau, Weegar. I thought, when this trade happened, and I originally thought that, I think Calgary was I remember at first I was like, wow, Florida Panthers got this great player, just huge Matthew Tkachuk. And now looking back, I think Calgary Flames kind of stole from the Florida Panthers.
Calgary fleeced them in that deal. They got so much more from one star,
that's
whereas
what I'm saying.
Florida is trading away the one star and then a lot more. But I don't know. I think that they filled enough to be a stopgap, and they've really trusted in their scouting roster, their training camp. Like Mark Stahl ended up making the roster off of a PTO. And I just think that they seem to rely heavily on what they have versus what they've lost. You know what I mean? And they seem to think that that's going to be the way to go. I think they expect Bobrovsky and Spencer Knight to really be a good tandem this year. Once Anthony Duclair comes back, that's really what's going to give them another step up, because by the time that he comes back, if the team is performing well and has maintained, I don't know, let's call it a 65-70% win percentage. Duclair comes back, he's going to bump that up to a 75, I think. Just him alone, he's that good of a player.
Right.
And yeah, I don't think it's as bad as it seems, and I have them slotting in the 2 seed.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting. I want to go back before I say mine too. Spencer Knight had a kind of a rough season last season. Stats really don't show it, especially when you're in a team like the Florida Panthers, but I think you'd definitely notice it if he was on any other team, which means Bobrovsky's the guy. So you need a good backup for this team, especially the way it's looking now. And Spencer Knight kind of needs to pump his tires here and get things rolling like he should be or used to be. But yeah, great tandem here, regardless. Sergei Bobrovsky and Spencer Knight. I do like this. Radko Gudas, Gudas, nice, cool. There we go. So
I love it. Let's go.
Yeah, I love Gudas. I love that trade. I love Sam Reinhart. From the Buffalo Sabres. Yeah, I think that was a just great pickup for the Florida Panthers. Sam Bennett. I don't know. It's like this is kind of different now that we're thinking. Now I was gonna bring it up, but I'm like, no, there's kind of a difference here. We talked about the Columbus Blue Jackets last week with Johnny Hockey there coming over, thinking like, is this one guy going to make a difference? And I thought the same thing with Matthew Tkachuk, but then I'm kind of looking at the roster, I'm like, not really. He's just Matthew Tkachuk is not really going to be that one guy that's going to make a difference. He's that one guy that's in a mix of like a bunch of different guys. It's going to make a big difference for the Florida Panthers.
I think this team has a lot of guys that are going to piss people off. Like Sam Bennett gets under your skin in the playoffs. I think these guys are building for the playoffs and not for the regular season, and that's really all that matters. Like if they can qualify, they have a shot at winning the cup. You know what I mean? Like a good chance. The only thing that I want to jump back to with Spencer Knight, now this is going to be a hot take. I like Spencer Knight. I think he's a very good goalie, but being the top prospect as a goalie, we've seen how that kind of hinders and hurts other top prospect goalies. Like, say, Malcolm Subban. Is Spencer Knight going to be the next Malcolm Subban?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, Malcolm was, I think, taken in the first round, one of, like, the only goalies to be taken, that high. And I just
got bossed around.
Yeah, and I think maybe, I don't think Spencer Knight's going to get bounced around, but maybe he feels that spotlight and that pressure, and maybe that's affecting his play.
I do feel like Malcolm Subban was kind of just like a Carter Hart, where they were both brought in. Carey Price too. All of them were brought in to be these in-net gods. When in reality, I feel like, especially for the Boston Bruins' sake, Malcolm Subban needed to stay in Providence for a little while and just like get those games under him, mature down there. Instead, the Bruins are just like, we got to rush you up here. Same thing with Carey Price. They threw him right into the Wolves. Carter Hart, they threw him incredibly bad into the Wolves, and that's why.
Well, no, that first season they had a good team. They were looking pretty good. I think they made playoffs the first season he was in net, and I think they got bounced in the first round. But I think it's different for every guy. But I think you're absolutely right. Mm-hmm. There's a certain line,
right, and then you just end up this goalie that just got bounced around because the organization you were with didn't take the time to mature you down in the barn. Or
I think as a goalie, your stock is so easy to inflate and deflate because you're not a player and you're not on a line where you have other players that impact and affect your play. At the end of the day, like there's only one person in the net, whereas on a forward line, you're one of three. On a defensive pair, you're one of two, and you can rely and lean on the other guy. You can shade a little bit, and not to blame, but when you're in contract negotiations, you can blame a little bit on like, well, he was playing with this line, he's only getting this amount of ice time. You can spin the numbers any way you want. As a goalie, you're kind of isolated, and your play is your play. Yeah, the team isn't great in front of you for certain guys, but as a goalie, you're on an island. Mm-hmm. That's just the position.
Okay, yeah, I'm with you on that. But I'm going to go to what I have him on, and it might surprise you. I got him 5th in the Atlantic.
That is such a drop, dude. You think the President's Trophy... I think they ended up losing it to Colorado last year, right? President's Trophy won the Cup last year, too, which is shocking. That never happens. Right? Colorado did win the President's Trophy, if I'm not mistaken. I'll double-check that right now.
Oh, I thought that was Florida.
Florida ended up stealing it from him?
I think
122?
So.
Yeah, I think you might be right. The Avalanche did not win the President's Trophy. The Florida Panthers did. So you have the President's Trophy when it's dropping from first seed down to 5th, huh?
Yeah.
Outside of the playoffs, potentially. They could sneak in as a 5-3.
And it goes back to, we're going to be talking about them soon. It goes back to what we talked about with the Tampa Bay Lightning, especially you were talking about it last season, where you're just like, this is a team that's just built on playoffs. All they need to do is make playoffs.
This is going to bite you in the ass, I'm telling you right now. You have Buffalo finishing 4th and Florida finishing 5th.
Yep.
You're not going to be happy. You're going to kick yourself at the end of this season.
Or I'm going to be patting myself on the back.
Yeah, right, dude.